Hello and welcome to the Global Scholar Gateway, your premier guide to study abroad. My name is Dr. Yaro, your host, and it is so exciting to be with you every weekend and share some of the most iconic stories of some of the wonderful individuals that I got the chance to meet during my journey here in the United States as an international student at some point, and currently serving as an international educator myself. And the goal for us here at Global Scholar Gateway, by sharing those stories, is to inspire you so that you too can make your dream come true. That dream you have to study abroad. That's why I bring on individuals that made it happen for themselves. Individuals who were able to secure admission to some of those prestigious universities in the United States, in Europe, in Canada, in Australia, and so on and so forth. That's our goal here. And this morning, my guest is one of those wonderful individuals that I got the chance to meet in the United States. And without further ado, let me bring on Shadrack Mensah. Hello, my brother. How are you doing today?
Hello, Dr. Yaro. I'm good. How are you?
I am doing great. Thank you so much for joining us today. And would you mind introducing yourself to our viewers? For those who are meeting you for the first time, who is Shadrack Mensah?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I am, as introduced, my name is Shadrack, and I currently live in the US, and I work in a school as well. I'm currently a student in Oakland City University, and I'm working as well here in Evansville. And first, I actually came to the US sometime in 2015. So I did my master's in 2015, graduated in 2017, and my master's was actually in public administration. And so I completed in 2017, and that's when I started working as a civil servant, or as a civil rights investigator or equal opportunity investigator. And currently I'm in school, and I'm studying for a master's in strategic management and an MBA as well. So yeah.
Great. We'll get the chance to dive deeper in all of those things that you've just mentioned. But do you mind sharing a little bit about how it all started? Where were you born? Where did you go to school? Primary school, high school, and college in Ghana?
Wow, man, taking me down memory lane. Originally I'm from Ghana, in West Africa, and I was born in Cape Coast. So for those of you or those of us who are familiar with Ghana, I was born in Cape Coast. I grew up in Accra. Started my
So you're
elementary school.
a city boy.
A city boy, yeah, you can say that. Yes, a city boy.
Okay.
So I did my elementary school in a school called the Youngsters International. That's when I did my elementary and middle school. I did.
Is
Yes,
is it an international school, you said? Elementary
yes,
school? All right.
yeah.
So you were kind of exposed to the international world at a very early age, I would say.
Well, so in Ghana, whenever they say a school is international, it doesn't necessarily mean that it goes international. But usually, when they say a school is international, it kind of shows that it, first of all, it's a private owned, and it's also I would say it's regarded as one of the great schools, or one of the top schools in the area. And so so I went to the Youngsters, and I proceeded to Tema Secondary School, which is a private, or which is a boarding school. So for those of our listeners who are familiar with Ghana, they will understand. But so I proceeded to Tema Secondary School, which is a government school. That's where I did my high school education, and then from there I moved on to the University of Ghana. So I did graduate from the University of Ghana with a bachelor's degree in political science and English. I started off with English and sociology and political science. My interest was actually in political science. So at the time, I don't know if it's still the same, but I remember when I started, you start off with three courses or 3 electives, and so which are the sociology, political science, and English, or it could be any other 3. And so I think after the second year, you are required to drop one
Mm-hmm.
and then major in one and minor in the other, or combine. And so I intended to drop English, and my interest was in political science. But I intended to drop English. This is the interesting thing.
Why was that? Why was your interest in political science? Were you thinking of running for president at some point and and run Ghana or occupy some ministerial positions in the country?
Not necessarily, but I think I have always been interested in administration. I've always been interested in leadership. I've always been interested in management. And I've been curious. I mean, I've been political. And I say not necessarily running for office, but I have been very more political ever since senior high school. I did run for office in senior high school, so what we used to call a school prefect, and so I was an assistant school prefect. So I had an interest in leadership and all of that, and so I moved on to the university to pursue political science. So that was where my interest was. I wasn't so much for the I was good with the English, but I felt like where I really wanted to be, or what I really wanted to do, I really wanted sociology and political science.
Mm-hmm.
The funny thing was that sociology turned out to be more challenging, even though I thought it wasn't, but it turned out to be more challenging. And the English that I thought was challenging, that was where I was actually getting the grades.
Yeah.
But then sociology wasn't so. So then when I had to drop one, I was like, you know what? Let's just drop sociology and then let's just proceed with political science. So I majored in political science and then proceeded with political science and then minored in English.
Okay.
When I got to my 3rd year in the university, I applied as an exchange student. Mm-hmm. So I came to the US in my 4th year. That's my final year in the university. I came to a school in Georgia. It's called North Georgia College and State University. Currently, the name has been changed to University of North Georgia. So I'm sorry. I don't know why it kind of escaped me when we're discussing, but yeah. So that was University of North Georgia. So this was way back in 2012, and so I came to the US for 1 semester exchange program, and that was my first exposure. That was my first trip outside the continent of Africa. It was a great experience. I loved it. It was amazing. That was my first exposure to the American education system, and it was amazing. All thanks to my godmother then, who did encourage me and who helped me out through the process. And so when I was in the University of Ghana, I was schooling, but I was also working as a student assistant or a student guide.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about because one of the goals here is also to expose some of those universities that exist in the United States. There are more than 4,000 different colleges and universities in the country. So it's good for our viewers to kind of know what we're talking about when you mention the University of North Georgia. So that's the website of the institution.
Yes.
Where is it located in Georgia? What city?
It's located in Dahlonega. It's a very small city, very small but very, very beautiful city in the mountains. I think it's south of Atlanta, I believe.
South of Atlanta.
Yes.
Yeah. What can you share with our viewers about that institution? How was the environment?
So I would say it's an environment where, first of all, the school is it's a community college. I don't know if it's still a military college.
Oh, okay, military college.
Military college, yeah, not community college. It's a military college. I think it still is. But when I was there, so I think that's where you see the Military College of Georgia. Yes.
Yeah.
So at the very top left, yes. And so, I mean, it's instilled with discipline. The staff were amazing. It was a very, very beautiful environment. Their programs, I think, they're more into more of the social sciences, and I think
Okay.
technology as well. It is a school that also welcomes internationals. That is very international friendly. At least, I mean, it's been several years since then, but this is just based on the experience that I had there, and I
Okay.
did have a great time there. Yeah.
All right. So you mentioned that while studying at the University of Ghana, is
Mhm.
it in Legon, Accra, right?
Yes.
Legon.
Yes.
Yep. You were also working. Do you want to expand a little bit more on that? What
Yes.
were you doing
Yes.
as a student
Yes.
worker?
So I was a tour guide or a student guide. So here in the US, what we would call orientation assistant. And so I actually started that job in my second semester of my first year. And so I was working with the coordinator for the International Student Exchange Program, that is ISEP. And so I was working with her, and she happens to be my godmother.
Yeah.
And so I did work with her together with some other students. And so I had that exposure from there, right from the second semester of my first year. And
Yeah.
so as an orientation assistant or as a student guide, what we used to call them back then, we would she worked mostly with American students. And so we would welcome American students who were coming to the University of Ghana
Yeah.
on the ISEP program. And so we would welcome them, pick them up from the airport, take them to the university, show them around, help them through orientation, travel
Yeah.
with them around, at least, help them know their way around before the semester began. And
Okay.
so that was my first exposure, I would say. And so it was through that I got the opportunity to also come to the US for my exchange program in Georgia.
Okay. All right. So the title of the kind of thumbnail that we created was from tour guide to scholar in the United States. So Shadrack worked as a tour guide, as he just mentioned, and from that opportunity, he was able to secure meet people and secure a scholarship to come to the United States many different times and pursue his higher education programs. So, Shadrack, what sparked that interest in being or serving as a tour guide in Accra for somebody who was studying political science to solve real world issues in Ghana and address some of the issues that people were encountering in the country? Why did you choose to serve as a tour guide?
So I would say, first of all, I found it fascinating. So in my first year, I didn't do it in the first semester, but within the first semester, I was seeing, international students roaming the campus, having guides, people helping them and all, going around. And I mean, it sparked my interest. It was fascinating. I was like, well, this could be an opportunity to also, first of all, be of help to internationals, to help people, to familiarize myself or to broaden my horizon, get to know more about other people from other parts of the world. And so that was what I thought. It was a nice way to broaden my horizon, to learn more about other people, to get closer. And lo and behold, I got the opportunity. And you will say it. I mean, as a student in the University of Ghana, it also came with some benefits. So at least we had some small, some small cents,
Okay.
to buy some rice and oil. So
That's very important. Very important.
yeah.
And yeah, that's also, I think, one way of you, for you being involved in your university, taking some leadership roles, and yeah, just enhancing your student experience at the University of
Exactly.
Ghana. That's one of the advice that I usually give to our students. And yeah, it's very important, very critical to be involved wherever you're studying. That's the way for you to connect with people, make friends, and also get some wonderful opportunities that you got. So yeah, how did you get to meet the people who uh, offered you the scholarship to come and pursue your master's degree in the United States?
So, yes. So my first 4 years in the University of Ghana with my job, it was as a tour guide. Or
Mm-hmm.
no, it wasn't. So that the title was not even a tour guide. It was a student guide.
Student
Now,
guide.
right. Now, whenever I went off campus or whenever we had people who were not really coming to study in the University of Ghana, it was, I was working as a tour guide because then I was actually, moving around with them around the country, to help them. And I had met, a number of individuals. So I was doing that usually whenever school was on break. So I did that student guide slash tour guide for the whole 4 years. Now, after my university education, I proceeded to do my national service. So in Ghana, whenever you complete or whenever you graduate from the university, after the 4 years, you enroll in a national service. Most people actually teach. People serve in different capacities. You work in government institutions or some private institutions, and it's just for a year. After that year, sometimes you could be offered, a job extension and all of that. Some people proceed to go on to school. So I did that in the University of Ghana, and as for my national service, I was posted to a town in Ghana called Konongo. So that's where I went to teach. I was actually teaching in a high school. And so now during that time, so this was a period that I had.
What subject? What subject were you teaching?
I was teaching government. I was teaching
Oh, okay.
government, and I was teaching social studies as well. And so, but mainly my
Was that in
course
high
was
school?
in high school.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Proceed.
Yeah. So I was teaching government, and so I taught, and I mean, during that year, this was a period I had returned from my exchange program after 1 year from Georgia, come to graduate from the university, proceeded on to doing my national service. And so at this point, I had tasted the American education system.
Mm-hmm.
And so in my mind, I was like, okay, I my interest to actually further my education had peaked. I was like, okay, I really want to, pursue a master's degree. I really want to pursue higher education. Now, how to go about it?
Yeah.
I had all the information, was looking at schools. I was looking at the United States and some other countries in Europe and all that. So when I worked for some time, I received a notice, from my coordinator back who I used to work with, and she told me, she also knew what I wanted to do, and so she actually told me, hey, I have a group coming from Indiana, and I mean, I you know, not to brag, and or I hate to brag. I must say I was brag. I kind of see myself as one of her great tourists or tour guides, and so yeah, she asked if I would want to come assist, and so I was like, yeah, that's a great opportunity. I would love it. I loved it. I loved the traveling. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So I requested for some time off from the school I was teaching, and then I came to Accra to serve as a tour guide back then.
Yeah.
And so that was when I met the officials from the University of Southern Indiana. And
Okay.
so that was my first encounter with them. So I met them, some of the school officials with some of the students, and we went on this trip. And so we picked them up from the airport. We roamed Accra, and then we traveled to Cape Coast, and then we traveled to somewhere in the Volta region. Yeah, so that was actually when I first met them. Now to your question, so as we were moving around, I mean, I knew these were officials from the university. Previously, it was only the students that I was meeting, students that I was working with. But then this was an opportunity that I had met with some of the officials from the school, and so I was like, well, I mean, Shadrack, if you're wanting to, if you're interested in higher education, you want to pursue or proceed on your education, do a master's degree and all that, maybe you can take advantage of this, find out what opportunities they have in their school. And so I remember after one of our trips, I met with one of the officials, and I talked to her. I told her what my interest in was, where I was in my education, what I wanted to do, what I was doing at the time. And they did tell me, well, I mean, I told them what I wanted to study, and I asked if they had any resources or any support for international students. And we had a conversation. It was just basically it was actually a brief conversation, and what they told me was, well, we would get back with you when we return.
Yeah.
And I mean,
so what were the positions of the officials that you got to meet in Ghana?
So one of them was the provost, and
Okay.
the other was the international students coordinator.
Okay, so you met with the provost and the international student coordinator. You served as a guide for them, and you shared your interest in studying in the United States, and you asked the right questions, the types of programs they had, and the types of support they had.
Exactly. So after that conversation, I remember what they said was, you will hear from us. And I mean, you and I you know where we are from. When someone says you will hear from me, when a big man says you hear from me, a lot of times it's forget about it. And so
that's true.
And so honestly, I kind of closed my mind on it, but I was still working on it. I was still gathering my documents. I was still looking through schools and all that. This was sometime in May 2014, I believe. Yes, May 2014.
Okay. May 2014.
And so yes, and so sometime in August, I received an email. I just checked my email, and I received an email from the international students coordinator, and she was requesting for my university certificate, my degree, a copy of my degree, a copy of my transcript, and some other documents, I believe.
Yeah.
And so immediately, thankfully, so these were documents that I had already gathered. So I created a folder on my laptop. I have, all of these, my resume, my personal statement, and all of that. And so as soon as she said that, in fact, I was behind my computer when I received that email. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, this is
you were ready. Wow.
Like, great time. I just went ahead, touched the files, and sent and just emailed it to her.
Yeah, no, I think we need to emphasize that. So you had the dream of pursuing your education in the United States, but it wasn't just a dream, because you were working toward that. What you just mentioned is that you had a dream to study in the United States, and you know that in order for you to do that, to accomplish that goal, you need to have some of the required documents, prepare, get your transcripts ready, your degrees ready, and if the language score is required. And in your case, coming from Ghana, I mean, it's probably not the case. You don't need to take any English test, but you had your official documents ready. And when the opportunity came to you, immediately, you were very responsive, and you sent the documents that she was asking for. And I think I know the international coordinator that you're speaking about. That is probably Mama Heidi, right?
Correct.
All right. Let's say a shout out to Mama Heidi. If
shout out to
watching.
Mama Heidi. Yes. And thank you so much. And she's an amazing person. She's an amazing person. Very, very supportive.
Absolutely.
Now, let's also not forget. So during that time, I was also doing what do you call it? I was also studying for my GRE. I was also studying for my GRE. And you know what? I'm sorry. We mentioned Mama Heidi. We need to shout out to also Dr. Roshan, who was also on that team.
Just Baba Roshan.
Big shout out to him, the man himself. So I call him the man himself, the president. Big shout out to him. Thank him so much.
So while we're mentioning those individuals, I think let's also maybe share about the university we're talking about. So we're talking about USI. You and I went to that school, And
Yes.
this is the university's website. Let's go straight to
Mhm.
the International Admission Office.
Mhm.
How to apply, I think that's the, yeah. So this is the university that we're talking about. That's where Shadrack got the opportunity to meet the provost back then and the international coordinator. And he talked to them and he was able to secure a scholarship. So if you're watching us, please take notes on how Shadrack was strategic and intentional on his dream to study in the United States. He didn't limit it to just being a dream and not taking any action. He knew that he wanted to get a master's degree, and he knew that he wanted to do that somewhere in the United States. He put himself out there. He met with some individuals. He served as a tour guide, shared his stories with them, and expressed his interest in pursuing higher education in the United States. And those individuals were in a position of getting him, what he needed, the financial support. Because we know that it's not that easy to pay for tuition coming to the United States as an international student from Ghana, from Africa. But there are plenty of scholarships opportunities out there, and it is up to the applicants, up to the students to put yourselves out there, talk to people, build the profile that is required for you to secure some of those scholarships. So yeah, let's proceed, Shadrach.
So yeah, so around that time I was also studying for a GRE exam because I knew that it was one of the requirements for most of the schools in the United States. I think it was just after COVID that was when a lot of the schools kind of um, loosen their grip, or they kind of loosen their requirement on it a little bit. But around that time, I knew that it was like a strict requirement for most of the schools in the US. So that was also an exam or a test that I was studying for. I had not taken that test yet, but I was
Mhm.
actually studying for that. I remember my godmother actually provided me with a book to do the studies. And so when I received the email from Mama Heidi to send my documents or to send my information, I did send them to her. And after a week or so, I received another email expressing let me say, an appreciation for what I had sent. And she was actually very, I would say she was impressed. And what she told me was to move ahead or to proceed to apply
Yeah.
to put in my application. And so I did. I applied, and I read on the website, all of the documents, all of the requirements that were there, which some of them I had sent to her, but I still went ahead and uploaded them. There were others that I had to, work on, like the test. Now, the test was also a requirement. So at that point, I knew
Mm.
that, okay, now this test that I've been studying for, it's
The
time. I had
the
to actually
GRE.
the GRE. And I know a lot of
How
people dread it.
how was your experience with that?
I would say my experience it was quite an interesting one, but thank God we were able to sail through. So,
Yeah.
but
It
yeah,
was one of the most difficult tests for me. I
yes,
took the GRE and it was not fun, but yeah, thank God as
yeah,
well. We were able to
yeah,
make
yeah,
it and go through it.
yeah. It was very difficult for me. I think my challenge then was the time. My
Mhm.
challenge was the time, but thank God, like you said, we were able to make it. And
Mhm.
so I proceeded to complete my application, put in everything, whatever that was being required by the department, which is the MPA. And
Mhm.
so I completed them, submitted my application and everything. And this was, I believe, sometime in September or October.
Mhm.
And so I did everything just there, waiting or continuing. And so around September, October, I had actually finished with my national service. And
Mhm.
so at this point, I was back home.
Yeah.
Now I had full attention working on my application.
Mhm.
So, I've submitted my application. Uh, Now I was just praying and hoping for the best
Yeah.
at this point. And
Yep.
so I think after a few weeks, it was sometime in I think yeah I took my GRE I believe in February
Hmm.
or yeah February or March, and so I took my GRE, and then I think it was in February because I think I
Okay.
received my response from USI in April. So
Hmm.
in April, I I got an email from my program director at the
Okay.
time was Dr. Hanka.
Dr. Henka, shout out to him. He's also present on social
Yes,
media and with friend, and hopefully he's watching us.
yes,
Shout out to you, Dr. Hengbers, for your support and
yes,
yeah, your
yes.
guidance through the process. Yes, go ahead, Shadrack.
And so I received an email from Dr. Hanka congratulating me. He
Wow.
said, congratulations on your admission to the MPA program. Myself and about 7 other students.
Hmm.
And I saw it, and in my mind, I was like, wait, what? Okay, looks like it's becoming a reality now. And so, but at that point, I think in my mind, I was like, okay, so we need to look at, scholarship opportunities, what's going to happen. I had put in all my applications, done everything. And I think I was waiting to hear from USI.
Hmm.
And shortly after his email, I received an email from Mama Heidi also congratulating me with all the, and she actually went deeper. She was like, you've received a full scholarship or,
Wow.
covering this, that, and that. And I still remember that day. I still remember the euphoria in our home. My mom, it was in the afternoon. My dad had gone to work. It was my mom and I who were at home.
Yeah.
And I just busted out of my room, came to the compound, just jumping around. I was like, I got it. My mom was like, what? I was like, yeah, I got a scholarship. I got, and so that was it was an amazing experience. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you want to talk a little bit more about the specific scholarships that you've mentioned, the fully funded
Yes.
scholarship?
Yes. So that was the Global Ambassador Scholarship. That was the
Hmm.
Global Ambassador Scholarship, and it did cover at the time. It covered my tuition, it covered my housing, covered my books and my board, and
Wow.
so and I also received graduate assistantship, which allowed me to work on campus.
Wow.
So whilst working on
That
campus.
that that sounds like you were a little bourgeois students having a fully funded scholarship and working as a graduate assistant, being paid for that as well. That
I
that
can tell you.
so yeah, that's against that again tells us that it is possible. If you're watching us, it is possible to secure fully funded scholarships in the United States or in Canada, in Europe. It's up to you to put yourself again out there, meet the right people, share your stories, and also build the type of profile that those universities are looking for to first admit you and also provide the type of financial support that you need to go through your degree program. Because as I always say, most of the universities, particularly in the United States, they're looking for individuals with some leadership potential because it's an investment. If they give you a
Correct.
scholarship, they know that you will succeed, of course, in your academic program. But beyond that, you will also become somebody. At some point, you will be able to give back to the university because most
Correct.
universities in the United States rely sometimes on the alumni to operate. Alumni, when you go to that school, you graduate, they raise fund, you donate money sometime for them to provide scholarships that like the one Shadrack got. So build a profile so that they see in you that leadership potential, and that also indicate that when you get to the university, you will go through your academic program successfully, and you will go on to also succeed in life and be able to contribute to give back to that university. So do you know if that Global Ambassador Scholarship is still available for those who are watching us and are wondering if they too can come to USI?
Um, I I I can't tell for sure,
Hmm.
but I think that it is worth inquiring into.
Okay.
It is definitely worth inquiring into. So that is something that, if when they reach out to the international office
Yeah.
or the admissions office, they can definitely inquire into it. Yeah.
All right. So yeah, definitely if you're watching, go to the university's website and find the right people and ask the right question. You heard about the Global Ambassador Scholarship. Is it still available? What are some of the requirements? Am I eligible? And yeah, nobody's going to hurt you for reaching out
Right.
to them and asking those right questions. So
Right.
let's talk about your journey in the MPA program. So you secured a fully
Yeah.
funded scholarship. You
Yeah.
traveled to Evansville, Indiana.
Yes.
How was your first impressions when you got to the USI campus and the Evansville community?
Oh, so first of all, it wasn't much of a change or a shock for me because it wasn't my first time in the US. And so, I had been to Dahlonega before, and then coming here. I think the difference between here and where, the school that I first attended, had to do with the international students population. Now in USI, there was more international students population, and there was like it was more of a close knit, at least for my experience. Now, I spend more time here in USI than in North Georgia, so that could also be a reason. But I think it was a great experience. Now getting into USI, or when I arrived in USI, the warm reception that we received, I found some other international students from Africa, and we bonded right from day one. And my very very good friend, who still continues to be my good friend, Joel. We met right on day one, for during orientation, and so that kind of relationship was built right from there. Meeting some other African students,
Yeah.
those who were already here before, and I think I actually arrived with one other international students.
Mhm.
Bo,
Let's say
and
shout out to Joel if he's watching us today.
yeah, yeah. Shout out to Joel. Shout out to Impo also
And
from
for
Botswana. I arrived with her.
mhm.
I arrived with Joel as well. I think Impo and I were in the MPA program, and then
Yeah.
Joel was doing his undergrad. But
Yeah,
yeah,
let me clarify this for our viewers that are watching and are wondering, how do I come to know a lot of the people that you are mentioning? Shadrack and I went to, I also went to USI with the Fulbright scholarship, and that's how we got to meet. And we studied the same program. When I came, you had already graduated, and
yeah.
yeah, you moved on, and you served as a mentor to me. So yeah, thank you for your mentorship during my difficult journey in the
Oh man, it was a pleasure.
in the MBA program at USI. So how did you find the educational system? What was the difference between the educational system in Ghana and the one you found in the US at USI?
So the key thing here in the US, the difference I would say was is the availability of instructors or professors. Now, I graduated from the University of Ghana in 2012. A lot has changed, or 2013 actually. I graduated 2013. A lot may have changed.
Mhm.
Now, within my 4 years, did I experience the same level of closeness with my professors when I was back home? Maybe not. There was obviously a difference, and a lot of it, I think, class size also counts. So in the University of Ghana, you're looking at a class size, and that was actually an undergrad program. So you're looking at a class size of about 200, 300 students in a political science class. And so obviously it's kind of understandable that having access to your professor would be a bit of a challenge. But you're also looking at the resources here. I think that obviously there are more resources here in the US, study resources, computers, the availability of work materials and all of that, the library system, and all that. And like I said, a lot may have changed right now. I don't know. I'm sure the University of Ghana would have advanced also as well at this point. And so, but yeah, there was definitely a stark difference at that time. And and it was easy to study. It was easy to take initiative. It was easy
Yeah.
to carry out projects,
Mhm.
and also it was a hands-on experience, I would say, with the MPA program. It was a hands-on experience. I remember
Absolutely.
in one of my classes, we actually had to go to agencies to work with them, sit through what they're
Mhm.
doing. It was an after school program. We had to sit through and observe, organize focus group. And it was a really, really hands-on.
Yeah, and I can definitely attest to that as well, because as I said, we went through the same program. My
Yeah,
concentration was on nonprofit management, and it was definitely very experiential type of learning. Uh, I would say all of my classes, maybe except for research methods, we were out in the community working with different organizations, writing
yeah,
strategic plans for them, evaluating their programs, writing grants for them, fundraising
yeah,
strategies for them. So it was definitely very experiential, very hands-on,
yeah,
and it's a very good program, very great
yeah,
program, and my uh, primary advisor, yours was Dr. Henka, mine was Dr.
yeah.
Engers, and
Dr.
shout out
Ingress.
to Dr. Engers as well if he's watching by any chance this morning. I know that he's not very much present on social media, but
On
yeah, shout
social
out to
media.
him. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, go ahead. So, you were talking
yeah.
about, your experiences in the community as well.
Yes. And so, and let me say this. So, for my grad assistantship, when I started, um, I I was working as a volunteer coordinator.
Mhm.
So I arrived in USI on in August, and I think sometime in September or October I started working as a volunteer coordinator. Now, as a volunteer coordinator, it was my job to organize students, especially international students. First of all, I was responsible for reaching out to organizations in the community, nonprofit organizations in the community, who had a need for volunteers, and so just wanted to, I had to meet with them to find out what specific help that they needed and what availability that they had. And so then I would come back and then organize a trip for international students to go with me to go volunteer. So we volunteered in shelters, we
Mhm.
volunteered in after school programs. So after school program, we were teaching kids, we were, mentoring them. We were cooking in shelters. We were cooking and feeding people in shelters. We were building. So we were
Yeah.
building a Habitat for Humanity. We were actually helping people build homes and all of that. So we did a lot. And this was actually a project or a program that was started, or that one other gentleman, ironically, his name is Mishak. He
Mhm.
started. So
Mishak,
yeah,
yeah, hand it over to Shadrack.
exactly. And so Mishak was the one who started. And Mishak, wherever you are, shout out to you. He started that, and I came. He was also in the MPA program, and so he left, and then I came over also in the MPA program, took
Yeah.
over that responsibility, and I was able to organize a lot of students, and it was also an amazing experience. It exposed me to the community,
Mhm.
getting to know people, and
Yeah.
that was also of a lot of benefits for
So
me.
yeah,
So
let's kind of dive a little deeper onto that. What were some of the impacts of that program? First of all, you come to the United States, you come to USI, and the first year you are hired to work as a volunteer coordinator for the international office. How did you make that happen? And what were some of the impacts of serving in that capacity for you? What were some of the impact of working as a volunteer coordinator?
yeah, so I remember when after I arrived, Mama Heidi got in touch with me and she presented the opportunity to me. And she said, this is something that Mishak was doing. And, she was like, I think you'll be a great fit. I think you'll do well. And this is something also very interesting. Sometimes you don't really know so much about yourself. Someone has to look at you and tell you would be a great. And I remember when she said that, in my mind, I was like, because I've always seen myself as an introvert. And so having to go out there in the community, first of all, this is a culture that I'm not so familiar with. And I'm going in, having to go talk to program directors, having to go talk to executive directors of nonprofits.
I would say Mama Heidi maybe has that sense of identifying individuals who need to maybe somehow come out of their shells and connect with people and create opportunities for them. So that's maybe how she identified you and invited you to serve in that capacity.
Yeah, she did a great job, and I met with them, and it went well. I think it helped also. It helped me to develop my confidence. It helped me to develop my, first of all, to broaden my knowledge in the culture that I find myself in, to gain a deeper understanding of how the system here worked. I did not really have much knowledge about how nonprofits worked and, some of the nitty-gritties and all that. And so I think that kind of gave me that exposure. Connecting it to the program that I was in, that was very, very, very helpful. So it helped me to, be able to articulate myself. It helped me gain a better understanding of the system that I was in, what was needed, and it also provided me with some suggestions or even proposals for my projects that I was even doing in the MPA program. Eventually, that helped me get an internship opportunity in my first summer. Where I worked. And so I worked in the Department of Metropolitan Development here in Evansville. And so I worked in that department. I did my internship there, and that eventually, led to me or my current position. Yeah.
All right. So while studying, you were also able to do an internship, as you've just mentioned. So for our viewers, let me kind of explain a little bit on how that works. So as an international student, when you come to the United States, you have the opportunity to work, of course, on campus. You can do that immediately, and you can work for up to 20 hours a week. But beyond that, there is what is called CPT, Curricular Practical Training, and that is what Shadrack is talking about now. If you want to work off campus, it has to have something to do with your academic program, and it is called CPT, Curricular Practical Training. So you identify an organization, and sometimes you can do that with the help of your professors or with the help of the international office as well. They can help you identify organizations that could be a good fit for you to do that type of internship off campus. It is sometimes paid, it can be unpaid, and I usually encourage students to participate in those kind of opportunities, because that's a gateway for you, to full-time employment once you complete your program, because you get the chance to expose yourself to an organization. They get to know you, they know your work ethic, and if they like you, of course, I'm sure as an international student, when you get here is to, give it your best, and upon graduation, secure a full-time job. So taking advantage of those CPT opportunities is definitely very important, very good. Seek advice from the international office. Seek advice from your faculty advisors. They can help you secure those type of internship. Let's bring on Shadrack. So you mentioned the CPT that you did, and you did it with was it with the city of Evansville?
Yes, it was a department in the city of Evansville, and so
what were your responsibilities?
So I was actually working with other community development coordinators. So what they do usually, I think they're involved in city planning, grant disbursement to nonprofits and all of that. So I was reviewing contracts, I was reviewing grant contracts, I was preparing Excel sheets for some of the coordinators in some of the works that they had done, putting together information for them. I was reviewing some other action plans. So just
Wow.
to, so I,
Man,
I was going all over. Like
those are those are some serious, some serious responsibilities.
I
Asking
tell
an
you,
international student from Ghana
yeah,
who
yeah,
does not have a lot of experiences in the United States to review grants and write proposals, that shows how serious you were, and how dedicated you were to the job that you were doing.
yeah.
So, one piece of advice to our viewers is, we know that when you choose to come as an international student to the United States, this is a big country with a lot of stuff to do. And sometimes we might be kind of distracted by some of the fun stuff that happen around us. It's good to have fun, of course,
Mhm.
but also it is good to focus on the primary reason that brought us here, which is
Right.
to study and earn a degree and potentially or eventually secure a full-time job. Shadrack is explaining to us how, as an international student who is working toward his master's degree, he was hired to be an intern with the city of Evansville. And while serving as an intern, he was given some big responsibilities to review grant proposal, write proposals, and so on and so forth. So, congratulations, Shadrack, on that journey.
Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, so I did yes, I did work for or with together with the other community development coordinators. We did that. And so that eventually um ate into my capstone project in my
Mhm.
MPA program. And so for my capstone project in my MPA program, I was to, or I worked on effective intake systems for homeless shelters in
Mhm.
the city of Evansville. And that was actually a project that had been started by one of my predecessors, Miss Tracy
Mhm.
Welk. She did an amazing program. And so I came on and took on a face of that bigger project. And so my responsibility was to develop a database or some kind of a coordinated entry system um, 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 for the homeless shelters to help them, or basically to be able to track their intakes and to be able to track their denial. So that was the whole point of my capstone project. So when you look at it, with I was in the program, interned with that department, and
Mhm.
that also helped me at least to get a project, or to develop an interest in a project, which helped in my capstone project for my MPA program.
Okay. All right. So, while working towards your master's degree, you also took advantage of the curricular practical training program. And then you complete your master's degree, you graduate. What happened?
After my graduation, I applied for OPT,
Mhm.
and after OPT, that's
OPT stands
optional
for
practical
optional practical
practical
training.
training. Yes,
And
that allows
that is a full-time employment for international
right,
students. Once you complete your
right,
degree program, you are allowed to work full-time anywhere in the United States. And depending on your major, you can work
mhm,
for up to 1 year or up to 3 years if you are 3 years for those who are in STEM majors.
right.
Okay, go ahead.
So based on that experience, I was able to, get employment within another city or another department within the city. That's where
Mhm.
I'm currently working now, and so I've been working there. And so in that process, that's when I actually had to enroll or go back to school, and so which is what I'm currently doing now. Yeah.
All right. So, as I was saying, one of our goals as international students in the United States is, of course, get education, high quality education, go through our academic programs, graduate with our degrees. But most importantly, we also looking for employment opportunities. to improve our personal living conditions and that of the people that we've left behind. So, what do you think, Shadrack, that led you to be employed to work full time with the city of Evansville? I know that you did your internship. So, what do you think were some of the qualities that they saw in you to the point that they were like, we want this guy to stay with us and work full time for us?
I think what I would say would be something along the lines of dedication and loyalty and hard work, diligence. Because I remember when I was working for the other department and I applied for this position. One thing that I at least that I heard was that a lot of people were actually recommending me to my department, and so that I believe that helped. And so just basically just being diligent, be dedicated to your work, and yeah, that that's that's
Being
great.
being being diligent, dedicated, serious. I know that you are a man of faith as well, Shadrach. Uh,
Yes, yes, I
yeah.
am.
So, what did faith uh, play in that journey?
So my faith has played a key role right from day one. Um, Now, my entire life, my faith has played a key role. I'm a Christian, and having faith, believing, just trusting in God, throughout the process, doing your part, and letting God take on the rest. Yeah, of course. Does that mean that there won't be challenges? No, but that's where sometimes faith actually comes in. And so, even through the challenges, just keep trusting, or continuing to trust that whilst you do your part, you keep praying and
Mhm.
trust that God will also do His. And so, yeah, I remember even through my application process and all of that, it had been a matter of faith. It had been a matter of faith. So, yeah.
Yeah, great point. So yeah, you mentioned that yeah, good to have faith, but you also need to do your part, work, and then pray about the work you're doing and the thing you're doing and your dreams and your goals, and
Right.
eventually God will make it happen. I understand that you are currently working toward a master's degree as well. You mentioned that in the
Yes.
introduction. Where are you
Yes.
pursuing that program?
So I'm currently pursuing Master of Science in Strategic Management, slash an MBA, and so that's what I'm currently doing. And so the concentration is in leadership. So leadership with a leadership concentration. As I mentioned from the beginning, that has been my interest. That was one of the reasons why I pursued political science in my undergrad degree, and then I
Mhm.
came up to public administration in,
Yeah.
in in for my master's. And so I do have an interest in strategic management. Um,
Okay.
yeah, and so that's what I'm currently doing with the Oakland
Well,
City.
I see in you a good politician that can, solve a lot of issues for the Ghanaian people. I would definitely encourage you to run for office at some point, and
God
uh,
willing.
you should go for it. You got it. You have everything it takes, to run Ghana efficiently and effectively.
We'll see what the Lord says.
So, where are you pursuing that masters again?
It's in Oakland City University, also in Indiana.
Auckland City University. I think that's the website of the university, international
Yeah,
admission. So, if you're
yeah.
watching and you're interested in pursuing your study in the United States, so yeah, a high school GPA of 2.0 or higher, 2.5 or higher. I mean, so yeah, the admission is possible. It's possible for you. Please navigate. Feel free to navigate the website and find out if you can secure admission to the that university. What can you share about that school with our viewers, Shadrach?
Yeah, it's a great institution. I've been attending since August last year. First of all, it is a faith-based university. Faith is incorporated. It's a Christian university, and so faith is incorporated in almost every aspect of their lessons. It's a beautiful campus. They have amazing staff, amazing faculty, and their work ethics is top notch. I've been, like I said, I've been going there since August of last year, and their materials. And so far, I think I personally I see a difference in I see an impact in what I'm studying, and I see how it is actually helping me in
Mhm.
my field. And they are also very welcoming of international students. They have a great, vibrant international student community. Yeah, it's an amazing place to be. Yeah.
Great, great. So I would say for our viewers, as I mentioned, one of the goals here at Global Scholar Gateway is to share the stories of some of the amazing individuals that I got to meet during my journey as an international student in the United States and currently working as an international educator, so that you too get the inspiration to make your dream come true. Learn from their journeys, learn from their experiences, how they were able to secure admission to universities in the United States, in Canada, in the UK, or somewhere else in Europe, so that you too can make your dream come true by securing admission to one of those universities around the world, and also getting scholarships or assistantships if you're coming as a graduate student, because in the United States specifically, graduate assistantships are available only for graduate students. So while you're working as a graduate student, you can be hired by a department to work for them, and they would pay portion of your tuition or the entirety of your tuition. And in addition to that, you are also paid a stipend every month for you to be able to pay your bills. So opportunities are out there. It is up to you to put yourself out there, build a type of profile that would secure your admission and also scholarship. We are getting close to the end of our conversation with Shadrack. And Shadrack, if you had some word of wisdom for our viewers on how to build the type of profile that you have built that have secured you admission to universities in the United States twice. You came to the United States twice. You got fully funded scholarship, and upon graduation, you were able to get a full-time job opportunity here in the United States. What would be some of the advice that you would give to our viewers, those who are also dreaming to be on the type of journey you've been through?
So first of all, I would say faith will be the first. Just keep your trust in God. I know it's sometimes it's easier said than done. So faith will be the number one thing for me. The second thing will be the importance of speaking up, and because as it relates to my communication with the school officials, I always sometimes I think back and I just say to myself, if I had coiled in my shell, if I had been quiet, or if I had said, or if I had felt timid to not spoken, with these officials, I don't know how things would have ended. I probably would not have found myself here. And so it is important to speak up. There is someone mentioned said you are your own advocate. It is important to speak up, and so that is also another lesson. Now, connected to that, I would say preparedness. It is important to be prepared at all times. You cannot, like you said, you cannot just have the dream and just sit without having to put any work towards it. I have come across, some individuals who do express their interest in wanting to study abroad, but I mean, it's like they put in the preparedness is low. When sometimes when they hear what is involved, they kind of step back. But like I said, it's not. It's something that you also have to put in the work. And I do believe if whenever the officials requested for my documents or my transcripts and all of that, if I had not made them available, if I was not ready with them, I don't think that it could have gone well. And also, working on yourself as well. I believe that my transcript, thank God, my transcript and all my documentation also did some speaking for me, and so that also helped in that scenario. And whenever you get the opportunity also to find yourself here, being involved is also very helpful. You cannot just be here, or when you gain the opportunity to study, you cannot just focus on just yourself or where you are, and not be involved in where you find yourself. I mean, doing things outside of your comfort, going beyond, like I said. I mean, a lot of the things that I started with as a volunteer coordinator were outside of my comfort zone, but I kept pushing, I kept insisting. It was something that I was determined to learn. The first time I went to meet kids, I went to see kids in an after school program. The impact that it had, together with the other volunteers. After the session, you could tell the smiles on these kids' faces. You could tell the impact of these international students on these little ones. Whenever we went to serve food, whenever we went to cook and feed the homeless, you could tell the impact. And so all of these, I would say, are very, very helpful. So being prepared, speaking up for yourself, being prepared, and also being involved, and trusting in God. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I'd say four main takeaways. First, faith. Have faith in your dreams. Have faith in your goals. Pray for whatever initiative you have, any dream you have, and trust in God, and you might end up accomplishing one of those dreams at some point. Second is speaking up, putting yourself out there and speaking up, sharing your stories. As you've mentioned, Shadrack, we are our own advocates. And if we don't speak up, if we don't share what we think or what we dream of, what we want to accomplish, nobody will know. Nobody will read our mind and understand or know what we need. So when you meet people, that's the opportunity for you to share your dreams with them, share your goals with them. And you never know, you might be sharing it with the right person who can help you make your dream come true. Like in Shadrack's case, he was simply doing something he enjoyed doing, helping visitors navigate through Ghana, discover Ghana. He happened to travel on one of those trips with the provost of a university. He happened to travel on one of those trips with the international student coordinator, and he shared his stories. He spoke up, and those were the individuals who were able to ask him again to apply to the university, and they promised that they would, do their best to provide him with the type of financial support that he needed to go through his academic program at the University of Southern Indiana. And in addition to speaking up, you also need to be prepared. As Shadrack has mentioned, he dreamt of studying in the United States. He did not limit that to just kind of an empty dream without taking concrete actions. While he was dreaming of studying in the United States, he knew that, in order for you to study in the United States or to study abroad, there are some documents that you need to submit to those institutions. You need your transcripts ready. If you are from an English-speaking country, you don't need to translate them. But if you're watching us from a French-speaking country or a non-English-speaking country, you definitely need to get those documents translated into English. So your transcripts, your degrees, your diplomas, and you also need to work on your passport if you don't have one, because you definitely need a passport in order for you to be able to travel to the United States. So speaking up and being prepared, and once you make it to the United States, or once you secure admission and scholarship and you get to travel to your international institution, a key thing that you mentioned is to be involved. Don't be the type of students that I always call those type of students triangular students. The type of students who go from the dorms to the classroom. From the classroom, they go to the restaurant, they get food, and from the restaurant, they go back to their dorms. Those are not the places where you meet individuals, where you find opportunities. Those are not the places, generally, those are not the places where opportunities will also find you. It is by being involved on campus, joining clubs. When you come to the United States, there are usually hundreds of student clubs, hundreds of student organizations that you can join and build your leadership skill, build your confidence, network with individuals from many different countries. There are hundreds of countries, nationalities on American campuses, and you get to build some meaningful connection, meaningful relationships with those individuals by simply being involved on campus. And that's also how you end up potentially securing employment opportunities, job opportunities, because as I mentioned again, the primary goal for us is to come and get our education, our degrees, but eventually also being able to secure a job upon graduation. And that happens when you are also prepared and when you are involved in your campus and also in your community where you find yourself to be. So this is the Global Scholar Gateway. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, please do so. Follow us on X and also on Facebook. I am very excited to bring every weekend some inspiring individuals to share their stories with you. Thank you so much for staying with us thus far. Thank you so much, Shadrack, once again for your time and for sharing your journey with our viewers. And we'll see you next weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.